antlers, assumptions, and artillery. What is that? Martha asks, not long after they left the gym. She's pointing at circular pad with an arrow pointing, and the words UP and 50 meters. Finally, there's a notation on the angle and the amount of power needed in smaller print. Following the arrow, there is a pillar on the next level up that clearly is another pad. I've seen several of them, but I don't know what they mean. Oh, it's a holdover we learned from the Apuk. It's called a jump pad, Bjorn says. I'm not very familiar with the species. They're very martial in value strength. I know that much. Well, they like to get around their cities or even the countryside by jumping from place to place. These are jump pads, places that are specially reinforced and have all the math done for you for how to get to the next pad. Oh, what's interesting about them is that you can tell if it's a long-distance country one or an inner-city pad by looking at how much data there is on it. An inner-city one has all sorts of bits on how to make the jump just right so you don't hit a building. A long-distance one just gives you direction and distance. Occasionally warnings about wildlife or the dark forest. But that's Serbo, no dark forest here. The tundra worms are interesting though, Holly says. Well, maybe if you'd stop fishing them, you'd have an easier time. Fishing them? They sense movement outside the massive hypercrete plates the arcologies rest on. So put some bait out with a hook, drag it around a little, and you'll get a worm in a few minutes at most. It's funny, really. The big scary things have no answer but to flail around when you drag them out of the ground and throw them onto the platforms, Holly says. Considering that they're the apex predator of this planet, I'd imagine that they never had to evolve any answer to being bodily yanked out of their tunnel and thrown onto a stone so hard they can't burrow through it with their natural axiom advantages. How big are these worms? Martha asks, and Holly holds her arms out and bent slightly at the elbow. Oh, that's not too bad. That's how wide the fully grown ones are, Bjorn says before frowning in thought. What was the number again? 20 to 30? I think it was 25 to 35, Holly says. Well, either way, they're at least 20 times longer than they are wide. Closer to 25, Bjorn says with a shrug. Of course, only a few make it to full size. Most of them barely get longer than a person is tall. But all of them are unthinkingly aggressive and ravenous. They'll bite at things many times their own size if they sense it. And you toy with those things? They deserve it. Nasty, unthinking monsters that breed out of control at every chance they get. They're cannibals too. They are. Whenever we hit a nest of the things for indirect fire training, there's a feeding frenzy in a few days there. For the first few weeks, we just kept hitting the area when there was too much movement again. But then we started making a serious crater, and the nearby arcologies had filed an injunction to get us to stop with the noise pollution. How did that end? Martha asked. Quick court case, and we now only do indirect fire training during certain hours of the day, and with at least 72 hours warning and a minimum of 48 hours between exercises. It's their fault anyways, Holly mumbles. What do you mean? Martha asks. The reason there are so many tundra worms is because pets and other animals aren't being locked up properly in the arcologies. They get out, the worms eat them, and they get enough energy to go into a mating frenzy, making more worms, which then eat at all the native life, and then someone mass clones a new population to keep the ecosystem balanced and releases more food to the monsters. Holly grumps. You can only see the local animals get eaten by the local monsters so many times before getting completely sick of it, Bjorn says. Especially when they're well, give them time and some minds, and they'd be a sister species to the Carib, Holly says, and Bjorn puts a hand on her shoulder. Oh, well, no place is perfect, my girl, although that could be a long-term project for you. Look for a way to protect some local herds from the worms. Conservation is a wonderful calling. Martha offers and Holly considers. The mental image of herself surrounded by the local herd animals is an appealing one to Holly. Then the image updates and there's a bundle snuggled into her arms that the animals occasionally nuzzle. Uh-oh, that's the baby rabies face, Bjorn jokes, taking a step away and then dodging a grab from Holly before they both laugh a little. Baby rabies? Martha asks. Nothing to worry about, Holly says, and Bjorn grins. He knows that look. Tonight is going to be someone on one time. No, really, what's that look? You can tell me, Martha insists, and Holly leans over to whisper in her ear. Oh, sweetie, that's nothing to be ashamed about. You're at the age where you really start to want it if you don't already have it. I know it's just, I wasn't, I mean, not long ago I was, and should I before the blood's gone? If it was ever on you to begin with, Bjorn says, and both Holly and Martha look at him. I've said it before and I'll say it again as many times as I have to, you were not to blame. The blood is not on your hands or antlers. When it gets bad, I can still feel it though, sticky and thick with a distinct smell to it. Some races use iron, some copper or cobalt. It all smells different, but it always feels the same. That stickiness that hardens and then crumbles and flakes away. It cleans so easy, but it just seems to stain things forever, Holly says, and finds her mother tightly hugging her, with Bjorn's arm resting on her shoulders to both offer his support and not intrude between mother and daughter. It takes a few moments before Holly squirms a bit. Okay, I'm fine. I'm tough, I can take it. I'm fine. If you say so, Bjorn remarks as he slips to the side, but his hand lingers on her shoulder. She nods at him. He lets go. The hug between mother and daughter continues for a bit. You're all right. You never hurt anyone when you had any choice. Don't hate yourself for a choice being taken away. You did nothing wrong. They reach the stairs upwards right next to the elevator, and Holly takes them 2 steps at a time, pausing so Martha can keep up. Bjorn just goes up casually and keeps pace as Holly seems to shake off the episode and her cheerfulness comes out again. He can tell it's at least partially faked, but since it's not wholly faked, she's going to recover. There's no need for a sudden check-in with the shrink. The garden is on the 2nd level of 500. Each level is considerably shorter than the tiers of Centris, but they also don't have the sheer space. But it's large enough to allow Titans and Lidris to move around with ease, although 2 Lidris walking side by side would take up most of the hallways. The gardens are another 10-minute walk away as Martha and Holly start talking about family affairs, and Martha starts showing Holly pictures of her half-siblings and all the silly things that they're getting up to. So wait, she's dating a snick man? I really didn't think she was the type to go for an insect, Holly notes. Well, she had a hard time with a few different men, as she just wasn't able to make friends with their wives and wasn't able to become part of the family. However, with her newest attempt, she's just fitting in so well, Martha explains even as they turn a corner and the conversation trails off. Oh, that's lovely. And it is. The whole garden was basically samples of nature taken, and then the growth cycles of all the plants accelerated with fans blowing air in a pattern to simulate the wind in the areas the samples were taken from. The plains with numerous shrugs expand into a forest with a dividing river, and around the whole thing is a track for people to run along. They all walk onto the simulated plains and the tall grass brushes by their knees as Martha takes in a deep breath. There are wildflowers near here. There are. The whole area is just a collection of samples, speed grown with axiom in addition to wind and rain simulations to simulate a natural environment. We couldn't import animals without causing a potential mess though. It's a garden, not a zoo. It's very lovely. Nature has a way of just making the most beautiful pieces of art, doesn't it? It does. It also helps that pretty much any living thing is predisposed to finding beauty in nature. Bjorn agrees. Although if your taste runs anything like Holly's, the best is saved for last. Oh, right. You have to see this, Mother. It's so hard to find these on Zalwar without those horrible things underhoof. But here it's just so wonderful, Holly says, taking her mother by the hand and leading her off onto the trail that she begins to rush down. Both women use axiom to kick up a little speed, and Bjorn just all-out sprints after them, both until they reach the dividing door outside. It's opened with ease and they step out into a boreal forest. Normally, with the juvenile worms snapping the roots as they eat the small mammals that nest among them, the trees of Zalwar accidentally get a bonsai treatment, keeping them small and lean, but without that constant damage. Towers of green needles and the scent of sap on the wind, Martha says, taking a deep breath. A winter wonderland, if a little light on the snow. Bjorn agrees. This is only one of the gardens that has wildlife in it. The birds showed up, of course, but it turns out we accidentally got a small den of the little burrowers. They're breeding fast without the worms eating them en masse, and some of the larger birds are hunting them, meaning that this is accidentally a miniature wildlife sanctuary, Martha says as she sees a bird with gray and dark green mottled plumage hunker down in a branch for a moment, before deciding it wasn't the best idea and taking off, dislodging a few rare snowflakes to be carried away in the heavy winds of the world. It's so hard to find places like this on Centris. So many races prefer things warm, if not hot, and their gardens reflected. She steps further into the park and finds a large lichen-covered boulder to sit on. She looks up and takes in a deep breath of relief. "So, why did you chuckle when I did that?" Holly asks Bjorn, and he smirks. "It was funny. Big party animal who can treat walls like open doors suddenly slowing down and finding love for nature. Miss Party Animal being all serene. Funny," he says. "Walk with me a bit?" Holly asks him. "I'm bodyguard. I'll go anywhere." "Not as a guard, as my guy," she says, and he nods. "Hey, Mom, can we have a minute?" Holly asks as they walk past Martha, and she nods. "Of course, dear. Take 10, in fact," Martha says gently as Holly leads Bjorn deeper in. Then when they're out of sight, she pulls Bjorn close. "What's wrong?" "Millie is marrying. Millie is going to be a happy housewife, and I still have so much more to work through." Holly says the news of her never gonna get married sister finding love had confused her, and she really needed to sort out her head. "I want you. I love you. It was duty, yes, but you're the exact opposite of everything that I hate. You're the nightmares undone. You make me feel not only safe but happy, like I deserve being happy. I just want to be close to you. Holly, you've got me. You put your everything into tying me down, and you did it. Even if I was reassigned for some reason, I'd only take posts where I can take you with me. We're in this together now. Just because there's some official appointments to it now doesn't mean there isn't something real, something strong and growing stronger." "I'm glad," Holly says, holding him tighter. She then startles herself a little as she accidentally pops his back. This prompts a chuckle from him that infects her fairly quickly. Martha, out of sight but not out of hearing range thanks to her skills with Axiom, smiles. Her little girl is a little woman.